This AskReddit user asks, what fictional death hit the hardest? Dobby. Dobby is free. Quote, "Aw man. When he was on the beach and his little dress was blowing in the wind. That was the worst." Wolverine's death in Logan got me super close to crying when I first saw it in the movie theater. That gnome and his wife who died of old age and turned into trees at the end of the final episode of the series. I think the show was called David the Gnome. Destroyed me as a kid. I still tear up now when I think about it. Single quote. Han Solo all the way. I was in a packed theater and there was just a loud synchronized gasp from everyone in the audience followed by a few seconds of pure silence. Nobody moved. No one even breathed, it was just pure uncanny stillness. Goose. The Viper versus the Mountain. DNI was PD. Lee's death at the end of the first season of The Walking Dead. The ending had me sobbing. Man. I'll miss you. Quote. Me too. Quote. Also season 6 episode 1. Or was it season 7? I guess you know what I am talking about. Home run. I stopped watching after that. Lenny thinking about his bunny farm as his friend puts a bullet in the back of his head. Dumbledore. Snape hit harder emo. He seemed like a way more complex character than Dumbledore. In the movies. Yes. But in the book. Dumbledore hit way harder. Hughes from Full Metal Alchemist. Brotherhood. It's a terrible day for rain. Quote. And also Nina and Alexander. Eris. Underscore. Viserys Targaryen. He was the most entertaining part of all of God ever. IMHO. I wasn't sad at that one. I was exceedingly satisfied. Same with Geffrey. Both when I read it and later when I watched it. Early got really made the deaths feel earned and unexpected. IDK how we went from there to Juggernaut Pincushion Barrack. Mama Coco. Your papa loved you, Mama Coco. He loved you so much. And at that moment she remembered Alina's name. I cried in the pictures watching this scene. Still chokes me up when she starts singing along. Vikings Season 3 spoilers. Athelstan. On the TV show Vikings. What made me even more mad was that I kind of half spoiled it for myself prior to witnessing it. I grieved for days. Ned Stark. Never read any of the books, so it came as a complete shock. Never read the books. Got into the show. Seemed like it was Ned's show. I recall thinking who is going to rescue him? Then thwack. Biggest WTF moment on TV for me. I recall thinking who is going to rescue him? First Sean Bean role you saw. Heck. I read the books and I agree. I picked up a GOT in high school and Ned was built up so much as the stereotypical honorable fantasy hero that up until the very last moment I thought he would escape somehow. Neji Hyuga. His development throughout the show was great. The dog from I Am Legend. Can't even watch that movie anymore. Legion. Error. Copying code is insufficient. Direct personality dissemination required. Quote. Talai. Legion. The answer to your question. Does this unit have a soul? Was yes. Quote. Legion. I know Talai. Keela Selai. Quote. Link. I raise you Morden's death. Link. I just realized that's the only time Legion speaks in the first person. Chills. This is gonna sound dumb compared to the rest of the responses here, but the dinosaur in Jurassic World crying out at the end of the dock as it's engulfed by the volcanic ash. Human deaths. Non-human? Get me some tissues ASAP because I'm about to bawl my eyes out. Mufasa. I watched The Lion King with one of my kids yesterday. It still packs a sadness punch. FKU. Scar. Rue from The Hunger Games. I loved how Katniss kept it together until the next scene too. Just a nice kind of realism emo. The careers were about to kill her and were like, give her 5 minutes to grieve LMAO. This isn't fictional, but it hit hard in a movie. In Victoria and Abdul, when Queen Victoria dies and Abdul knows his situation is about to get really bad. It's spine-tingling. Bridge to Terabithia, and I'll just leave it at that. Rita in Dexter. And it was such a visually shocking scene with all the blood and the baby. History repeating. This would have hit me a lot harder if my friend didn't spoil it for me days before I got to that episode. I was over at his place and Third Rock from the Sun happened to be on TV. My friend just blurts out, "Hey look. It's the guy who kills Rita in Dexter." Quote. This hit hard. Captain Miller in Saving Private Ryan was a total bummer. Fry's dog in Futurama. Didn't that episode win an Emmy? At least should have. The only show I've personally ever gotten a tear to my face. This should be so much higher in the comments. I can't even watch that episode again. I tear up thinking about it. Even if the end makes no sense. I mean, if he laid outside the pizza parlor, how was he fossilized standing? Freaking Seymour. Dobby. Bobby in Supernatural. When Wilson floats away. He's not even real, but Tom Hanks was just so good in the whole movie, but especially here. I'm sorry. Wilson. This wins. Not only is it a fictional death, but it's AGN volleyball. Maze Hughes. Not his death but his funeral, the way his daughter freaks out when they're burying him. Lenny's in Red Dead Redemption 2. Pretty much all the deaths in that game were sad. Not Mika's. FK Micah. Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Quote. That did hit hard. Charlie in Lost. Not Penny's boat. Quote. Marley. From Marley and Me. I watched on a long-haul flight when I was traveling solo. That was a big mistake. Man sitting next to me handed me a tissue. I forgot everybody around me could hear me. Jason Grace. Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo. Also Rue in the Hunger Games. Nairobi. Told you I would kill you, BH. Ellie Fredrickson. Jiraiya from Naruto. All the way. Emotionally. Fry's brother in Futurama. Fry spends his whole life hating his bro. Sent into the future where he'll never see him again. Then has this whole episode of relatable sibling rage. Then right at the end he finds a single shred of evidence that his brother loved him and missed him more than anyone else. People always use Jurassic Bark, the dog episode, as their go-to Futurama tearjerk. But Luck of the Fryish hit me so much harder. As a pragmatic loss. Aerith in FF7. In one swoop the main villain kills a party character who also happens to be your default healer. I was too young to feel the death, but I was miserable at losing the one I'd built up as my support character. Here lies Philip J. Fry. Named for his uncle to carry on his spirit. Quote. If you've seen the movie About Time, then you know what I'm talking about. That part felt like stepping out into oncoming traffic. This movie is a masterpiece. His death broke my heart. The whole movie feels like you are violently shaken and drop all your feels. I was expecting an average Sunday afternoon kill time rom-com, and I pretty much cried in that moment until the end of the movie. It is one of my favorite movies and I always recommend it if given the chance. Any death in this war of mine. Gandalf. Yes. He came back. But at the time I was devastated. I was gonna say this. Totally agree. And when Aragorn went over the edge of that cliff. OMG. Fun fact. Viggo nearly died filming that floating down the river scene. There were people in rafts, boats that were supposed to get him and they couldn't. He ended up going through some rapids. Flint Fireforge from Dragonlance. Bald for days. Bruh. Ellie from Up. Can you think of any film that's sadder? I am incapable of watching that movie without crying. Repeatedly. Throughout the whole thing. I struggle when they're mean to Doug and when Carl is mean to the kid. IDK, why, but it just really gets me. I think if you did not cry in that movie, especially when they were in the doctor's office. You are a true monster. Have a date watch that movie. If they don't cry, they are a psychopath and you need to break up. Setsuko in Grave of the Fireflies. It wasn't exactly her death, but the rice ball part and the phonograph scene. Those just pushed it even further along. I swear, that movie didn't make me cry. It left me devoid of emotion for a good while. Ned Stark. Pussy in Orange is the New Black. This destroyed me. My husband and I were absolutely choking sobbing on the couch. Side note, she died with a prison guard kneeling on her back while saying, "I can't breathe." Quote, "That was so hard to watch. I wanted to jump into the TV and push him off of her." I've never cried so hard over a death. Real or fictional. Mrs. Wilk, Mrs. Tanner, and Ben from Scrubs. Stupid funny little doctor show kept punching people in the gut. Don't forget Laverne. Her scene with Carla saying goodbye still kills me to this day. Arthur Morgan, Uncle Iroh's son. Iron Man. Mike Ehrmantraut in Breaking Bad. Was so happy to see him in Better Call Saul. More Mike can never be a bad thing. That's such a FG great show. Everyone became better people at the end of the series except Walter. At the end I hated him so FG much, and to think it all could have been avoided if he let Jane live. How about Andrea's death? The cold-bloodedness of her death and Jess's reaction really hurt to watch. Gail's death too for that matter. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, DNU. I was trying to get through these without crying. Natasha Romanoff. I sob every time. Avatar, The Last Airbender, the Moon Princess which Sokka was in love with. David Tennant's Drive. Who Regeneration. I don't wanna go is a fantastic line. Really summed up his doctor. The way he says it makes you really wonder if it's the character or the actor saying it. And it's both. Bawl like a baby every time. Why are they putting all that dirt on Daddy? Quote, funny. I didn't think it would rain. Artax the horse in The Neverending Story. When I was a little kid I couldn't understand why Artax wouldn't just get out of the swamp when Atreyu was tearfully begging him to. It hit even harder when I got a bit older and realized that it was sadness that drew Artax into the swamp and pulled him under. For some reason Henry Winkler's death in Click just gets to me. That will never happen. The Fonz is eternal. That scene in the rain. John Coffey and the Green Mile. Cry like a baby every time. Man, that one gets me too. Yeah, this one FG hurt. Agree. Jiraiya. Esmeralda Weatherwax from Sir Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. Her first appearance was in a book published the year I was born, and Sir Terry killed her off in the last book he ever wrote. He died himself before finishing his final draft, and he's clearly dealing with his own impending mortality when you read it. Lee from The Walking Dead video game. ST was FD up. You either shot him or saw him become a zombie. On God, I sobbed. Lee was such a good guy too. Duck's death was sad too, but seeing Lee die made me sob. Sirius Black. Couldn't believe he didn't come back. What about the magic? It wasn't just because he was a good character. He represented a real turn around in Harry's home life. Having a family that loves him. Having an adult he can really trust. Having a home that's his, not just a school he's staying at. This kid had it so hard for so long. And things would finally get better. He deserved a happy ending to all his suffering. Lol. Nope. Yeah, I was dumbfounded and 100% read the whole next book expecting Harry to save him somehow. Or find out it was all a ride or something. Hedwig for me. Wasn't expecting it. Eddie Dean. Bing Bong. I know it's corny, but it hits so hard because he's fictional in a fictional world. He's an allegory for whimsy and just being a kid, and he self-sacrifices himself to allow joy back into the world of the girl he loves. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of heavy deaths I've been hit by in fiction. But I got so into his character because it was what I missed about being a kid. Just silly, happy, nonsense and wonder. And then he FG seppukus in the middle of a Pixar movie. Inside Out is the movie. Yes. This also hits me every time. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.